Chapter 2. The village lay quiet in the aftermath of battle. The bodies had been removed, the blood washed from the streets, but the scent of death still lingered. Zuberi sat outside his hut, sharpening his spear in slow, deliberate strokes. The battle had been nothing to him, just another fight, another reminder that men would always come for him. What mattered now was why. Abeni stood nearby, watching him. She had already secured her cart, but she hadn't left. She wouldn't leave. Not yet. You should rest, she said. Zuberi didn't look up. Rest is for men who believe the fight is over. Abeni tilted her head. And you never believe the fight is over? It never is. She hummed, stepping closer. Then allow me to prepare you for the next one. Zuberi finally paused. He glanced at her, expression unreadable. You speak as if you already know what's coming. I do, Abeni said simply. She sat across from him, her violet robes catching the dying sunlight. The usurper sent those men to test the waters. He knew you were here, but he wasn't sure if you were still a threat. Now he knows. Zuberi resumed, sharpening his spear. And now he will come for you properly, Abeni said, but that is not what should concern you. Zuberi raised a brow. Abeni leaned in. What should concern you is that his enemies are starting to take notice, and they will want you for themselves. Abeni led Zuberi to the back of the village, where her personal guards, silent and watchful, stood near a waiting carriage. Inside, a map of Zundari lay spread across a wooden table. It was not an ordinary map. Several cities and strongholds were marked in different colors, some for the usurper, some for his enemies. Abeni traced a finger across one of the marks. These are the factions that will either want to kill you or place you on the throne, she said. Zuberi crossed his arms. All of them are enemies. Not necessarily. Abeni tapped one of the circles. This one, for example, belongs to the house of Malu. They lost everything when the usurper took power. Their leader is old and without heirs, but his generals, they want revenge. Zuberi remained silent. Abeni pointed to another. This clan is loyal to your father's memory. They have not forgotten the true bloodline of Zundari. They will fight for you if you give them a reason to. And the others? Abeni smiled. They will betray you the moment it suits them. Zuberi exhaled through his nose. I prefer my enemies out in the open. Then you will like this next part, Abeni said. She reached into a small chest beside her and pulled out a rolled parchment. She handed it to Zuberi. He unrolled it. His expression did not change, but his grip on the paper tightened. It is an invitation, Abeni said, to a royal gathering in the capital. A trap. Of course, she said smoothly, but also an opportunity. Zuberi looked at her. You expect me to walk into the lion's den? Abeni smiled. No, I expect you to walk in and make the lion kneel. The room fell quiet. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, but inside, the air was thick with something unspoken. Zuberi turned the parchment over in his hands. You trust too easily, he said. Abeni chuckled softly. And you trust no one at all. That is why I am still alive. That is why you are alone. Zuberi stilled. The words should have meant nothing, but they did. Abeni stepped closer. You think I want to manipulate you? I know you do. She smiled at that. Good. Then you are already proving yourself a better king than the last. Zuberi studied her for a long moment. Then, without a word, he turned and walked to the doorway. We leave at dawn, he said. Abeni watched him go, her smile deepening. The storm was coming, and Zuberi would be at its center. The road to the capital was long and treacherous, winding through dense jungles and sun-scorched plains. Zuberi rode at the front, as always, silent, unyielding, his spear strapped across his back. Abeni rode beside him, stealing glances at him when she thought he wasn't looking. He was carved from obsidian, broad and unshaken, his focus never wavering. She had met many men, kings, warlords, merchants who thought themselves gods, but none like him, and that was precisely why she had chosen him. By the time they arrived at the capital, the sun had dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues over the towering stone walls of Junda, the seat of the usurper's empire. The gates were heavily guarded, but Abeni had arranged for their passage. Inside, the city pulsed with life. Noblemen in fine robes, warriors clad in polished armor, and spies lurking in every shadow. Zuberi's gaze swept over the streets, calculating. The city was not built to keep outsiders out. It was built to keep the powerful in. The palace hall was grand, filled with Zundari's most powerful factions. But one man stood out among them. Tall, with sharp, hawkish eyes and a jagged scar across his jaw, General Bakari lounged on an ornate throne at the far end of the chamber, a warrior in his own right. But unlike Zuberi, his power came from politics, not blood. He smirked as Zuberi entered. "Ah, the lost prince arrives," Bakari drawled, his deep voice laced with amusement. "I was beginning to think you were a myth." Zuberi said nothing. He simply stepped forward, every movement controlled, effortless. Bakari's smirk deepened. "I must admit, I expected more. For a man of legend, you are rather plain." Abeni folded her arms, smirking. "Plain? You're staring at him like a maiden at her first festival, Bakari." Laughter rippled through the hall. Zuberi, as always, remained impassive. Bakari's smirk faltered for just a moment. Then he stood, stepping down from his throne to stand before Zuberi. "You do not belong here, warrior," he murmured, low enough that only Zuberi could hear. Zuberi tilted his head slightly. "Neither do you." Bakari's jaw tensed, but before he could respond, the doors to the chamber swung open. A woman entered, tall, draped in midnight silks, her dark eyes sharp with intelligence. "Zala." The room fell into a hush. "And here, I thought this gathering would be dull," she said smoothly, her gaze flicking between Bakari and Zuberi. Abeni exhaled sharply. "Of course, she's here." Zuberi, however, said nothing. His eyes met Zala's, and for the first time, something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Zala smirked. "It seems the real game is about to begin." The palace of Junda was a den of liars. Zuberi knew this the moment he stepped inside. The air was thick with whispers, filled with smiling men with hidden daggers, and women who wielded power as skillfully as any blade. He did not care for the games they played, but he would play them if he must. Bakari leaned lazily against his throne, watching Zuberi with the amusement of a man who thought himself untouchable. "Tell me, warrior," he said, swirling wine in his goblet, "what exactly do you think you'll accomplish here? This is not a battlefield. Your brute strength means little." Zuberi did not respond immediately. Instead, he took a goblet from a passing servant, studied it for a moment, and poured the wine onto the ground. The room went silent. Bakari's smirk faltered. "Then, let us speak of something that does matter," Zuberi said, his voice even. "Such as, who will be the last man standing when this is over?" A slow ripple of tension spread through the room. Bakari's jaw clenched, but he forced a chuckle. "Ah, so you do have some fire in you. Good. I was beginning to think you were nothing more than a statue with a spear." Abeni snorted from behind Zuberi. A statue that just killed 18 men in less than 5 minutes. But yes, let's continue pretending he isn't dangerous. Bakari shot her a sharp look. Your tongue wags too freely, Abini. And yet you still listen. She shot back. The tension snapped. Some in the room laughed. Others watched Zuberi more carefully now. Because he had done something no one else had. He had shaken Bakari. Later that night, the palace held a grand feast. Zuberi hated it. Drunk noblemen bellowed false laughter. Scheming women leaned too close. And food was served with too many silver smiles and too few honest hands. And yet, through it all, Zala remained the most dangerous presence in the room. She moved like a shadow made flesh, her silk robes whispering with every step. Zuberi did not react to her presence, but Abini saw the way Zala's gaze lingered on him, and she did not like it. I see you're enjoying the attention, Abini muttered, taking a sip of wine as she leaned toward Zuberi. He didn't look at her. I see you're paying too much attention to me, Abini scoffed. Oh, forgive me for noticing when another woman is circling you like a lioness eyeing a meal. Zuberi finally turned his head. Are you threatened? Abeni snorted. By her? No. By you, maybe. I'm starting to think you collect women the way a warrior collects scars. That would mean I let them linger, Zuberi said. Scars stay. Women leave. Abeni stared at him for a long moment. You truly believe that? I have no reason not to. Abeni should have been irritated, but instead, her fingers clenched around her goblet. Because the man before her was not just strong, he was broken in ways no one saw. And damn her, but she wanted to be the one who stayed. As the feast went on, Zala made her move. She approached Zuberi's tables with the confidence of a woman who had never been denied. Tell me, warrior, she poured, settling beside him. Have you ever considered the advantages of an alliance? No, Zala smiled. Then you should start. Zuberi said nothing. He did not trust her, but he respected her game. I will be watching you, Zuberi, Zala murmured, her fingers trailing along the edge of her goblet. And when the time comes, we will see whose side you truly belong to. Zuberi finally met her gaze, and for the first time, he smirked. It will not be yours. Zala laughed. We shall see, warrior. Across the room, Bakari scowled. And beside Zuberi, Abeni's grip on her goblet tightened. The palace of Junda had turned into a battlefield. Not one of swords and spears, but of words and glances sharpened like daggers. Zuberi had no interest in these games, but the fools around him kept playing. You are making enemies, warrior, Bakari said, his voice smooth but edged with warning. Zuberi did not look up. He was seated in one of the palace courtyards, sharpening his blade with slow, methodical movements. I do not make them, he said simply. They make themselves. Bakari's smirk was tight. Then you should be more careful. A warrior is useless when he is dead. Zuberi finally lifted his gaze. And a politician is useless when no one fears him. Bakari's smirk disappeared. Abeni, who had been lounging nearby, chuckled. Oh, this is fun. Bakari, are you here to threaten him or to admire him? Bakari exhaled sharply. You waste your time, Abeni. This man does not belong in our world. Then why do you keep trying to push him out of it? She countered. Zuberi ignored their exchange, returning to his blade. He had already decided one thing. Bakari would not die in a battle. No, men like him died drowning in their own schemes, and Zuberi would make sure of it. Later that night, Abeni found Zuberi alone in his chambers. seated on the edge of his bed, bare-chested, his scars catching the torchlight. "You let her get too close," Abeni said, stepping inside without invitation. Zuberi did not glance up. "Who?" Abeni rolled her eyes. "Zala, do not pretend you do not see what she is doing." "I see everything." "Then why do you allow it?" Zuberi finally met her gaze. "Because I am waiting to see what she does." Abeni exhaled through her nose. "You are impossible." Zuberi eyed her as she paced the floor. Abeni stepped closer, standing directly in front of him. "She wants something from you, Zuberi, and so do I." Zuberi remained still. "And what do you want?" Abeni tilted her head, studying him. Then, without a word, she cupped his jaw and kissed him. Zuberi did not react, not at first, but it did not stop her. She pulled back, searching his face. "That is what I want." Zuberi remained silent for a long moment. He wondered if Abeni was just like the others. Did she really want to help him bring back the Zundari Empire? Or did she just want something else from him? He pondered as Abeni left his chambers. Later the next day of festivities, Zala had had enough. She had watched Zuberi, circled him, and he remained unmoved. So, in the middle of the next gathering, with the court watching, she did the one thing no one expected. She challenged him. "You do not respect words," she said, standing before him. "Then let us speak in the language you understand." A hush fell over the room. Zuberi raised a brow. "You wish to fight me?" "I wish to prove myself," she corrected. "And if I win," she stepped closer, voice lowering, "you will finally take me seriously." Abeni, watching from the side, muttered, "By the gods, this woman is relentless." Zuberi exhaled through his nose. Then, slowly, he stood. "Fine." The court erupted into whispers. Zala smiled. She had him now, or so she thought. The palace courtyard was silent, except for the crackling of torches and the murmurs of onlookers. Zuberi stood in the center, bare-chested, his spear resting lazily in his hand. Across from him, Zala stretched her limbs, rolling her shoulders like a panther ready to pounce. "I must admit," she mused, "I expected you to refuse." "I refuse many things," Zuberi said evenly, "but I enjoy teaching lessons." Abeni, standing off to the side, grinned. Bakari, watching from his usual perch, smirked. But there was something in his expression, something calculating. Zala did not waste time. The moment the signal was given, she moved. Fast. Before most could register it, she was behind Zuberi, her curved blade slicing toward his ribs. He turned, just in time, blocking with his spear. The force of her attack sent a sharp vibration through the shaft of his weapon. "Good," Zuberi muttered, mildly impressed. "I am more than good, warrior," Zala whispered, already ducking under his next strike. Zuberi thrust his spear, but she sidestepped it with ease. She was fast. Too fast. For the first time in a long time, Zuberi found himself on the defensive. The crowd gasped as Zala's blade grazed his side. Abeni's eyes widened. Did she just cut him? Zala smirked. It seems the great warrior can bleed after all. Zuberi touched the small wound on his ribs. Then he smiled, just slightly. "You are quick," he admitted, "but speed alone does not win wars." And just like that, he switched tactics. Zala lunged again, but this time, Zuberi did not block. He stepped into a space, caught her wrist mid-swing, twisted, fast and merciless. Zala's blade clattered to the ground. Before she could react, he swept her legs out from under her. She hit the dirt hard. Gasping, Zuberi did not let go of her wrist. He loomed over her, his weight pinning her down, his spear pressed lightly against her throat. "And that," he murmured, "is why you lost." Zala's chest rose and fell rapidly. Her dark eyes locked onto his. For a moment, neither moved. Then, despite herself, she laughed. "Fine," she breathed. "You win, warrior." Zuberi released her, stepping back, completely unshaken. Zala sat up, rubbing her sore wrist. "I will admit, that was fun." Abeni leaned toward one of the nobles and whispered, "I think she just flirted with him by trying to stab him." The noble blinked. "That is not normal." Abeni sighed. "Nothing about my life is normal anymore." While the duel had been entertaining, Bakari was not watching for sport. He was watching for opportunity. Azala dusted herself off, and Zubieri turned to leave. A horn blew from the city walls. The gathered nobles tensed. One of Bakari's men rushed into the courtyard. "General, the king has declared a summons. All high-ranking warriors and nobles must attend the council chamber immediately." Zuberi narrowed his eyes. Abeni frowned. "That timing is suspicious." But Bakari only smiled. "Come, warrior," he said to Zuberi. "It seems our king wishes to speak. I hope you are ready." Zuberi exhaled through his nose. "I am ready for many things. Politics is simply another war." Abeni clapped her hands. "That's the spirit. Now let's all go walk into this obvious trap together, shall we?" The council chamber was a lion's den, and Zuberi was the only one here who wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. The nobles, the generals, the scheming ministers, all of them spoke in flowery deceptions, their words dancing around the real threats like a blade hidden beneath silk. Zuberi had no patience for it, but Bakari thrived in it. "Our borders are restless," Bakari announced, standing before the gathered council. "Rebellions stir in the east. The king seeks a solution." Zuberi remained silent. He knew a trap when he saw one. The ministers whispered among themselves, throwing glances at Zuberi. Finally, one of them spoke. "Perhaps a new warlord should be appointed, one to lead our forces against these rebels." Abini snorted quietly. "Oh, I see where this is going." Zuberi folded his arms. "And you believe I should be this warlord?" "Who else?" Bakari smiled. "Too wide, too smug. You have already proven your strength. But war requires not just warriors, it requires loyalty." A sharp silence followed. Zuberi's expression did not change. "Speak plainly." Bakari's smile grew sharper. "Pledge your loyalty to the king. Publicly. Here and now." Abini muttered, "There it is." Zala, standing beside her, murmured, "Clever. If he refuses, they'll call him a traitor. If he agrees, they'll use him as a weapon." Zala sighed. "I hate politics." Zuberi, meanwhile, did not react to Bakari's demand. He simply said, "Loyalty is proven in action, not words." Bakari tilted his head. "Then prove it." The silence stretched. Then Zuberi stepped forward. He took his spear and drove it into the stone floor with a sharp, resounding crack. The ministers flinched. "My loyalty is to Sundari," Zuberi said, "not to men who seek to twist it for their own gain." The tension in the room shifted. Some of the nobles looked nervous, others intrigued. Bakari, for once, did not smile. "Careful, warrior," he said smoothly. "Your words sound dangerously close to defiance." Zuberi met his gaze, unblinking, unmoved. "Only to those who fear them." The chamber buzzed with whispers. Abeni muttered to Zal, "That was a polite way of saying I see your trap and I'm not stepping in it. Zala smirked. And yet, it's not over. She was right. Bakari, though irritated, was not done. Very well, he said. Then let us put this to the test. There is a banquet tonight. The king himself will be present. Surely you would not refuse to attend. Zuberi, however, simply nodded. I will be there. And just like that, the game continued. The moment they left the chamber, Abeni and Zala cornered Zuberi. You know this is a setup, right? Abeni said, arms crossed. Yes. And you're just going to walk into it. Yes. Abeni threw her hands up. This man is impossible. Zala, on the other hand, grinned. Oh, I like it. She stepped closer to Zuberi. You enjoy making them nervous, don't you? Zuberi did not answer, because she was right. Abeni groaned. Fine. If you insist on playing this game, we are not letting you do it alone. Zala sighed, mock dramatic. Are you saying we must work together, Abeni? How tragic. Abeni shot her a look. I will stab you. I'd like to see you try. I will. Zubri exhaled. Both of you, focus. The two women stopped glaring at each other. Abeni hoofed. Fine, but don't you dare die at this banquet, Zuberi. I do not die easily. Zala smirked. Good, because this time I have a plan. Abeni raised a brow. Should I be concerned? Zala's grin widened. Always. The palace banquet hall was a theater of excess. Golden tapestries, overflowing goblets, and nobles who feasted while warriors bled for their comfort. Zuberi stood near the edge of the gathering, his presence like a shadow in the firelight. He did not drink, did not eat, did not entertain the idle flattery of lesser men. He was here for one reason, to see the trap for what it was, and of course, to endure the persistent company of the two women at his side. You fight well, Zuberi said to Zala, his voice low, measured. Zala, sipping from a goblet, smirked. Ah, is that respect I hear? Careful, warrior, you may start to like me. Abeni snorted. He does not like people. He tolerates them. Zala chuckled. Toleration is a start. She set her goblet down and turned to face him fully. You intrigue me, Zuberi, and that is rare. He said nothing. So she continued. I left my village for one reason, to find a man worthy of leading my people. My village is ruled by men who believe strength is in numbers, not in wisdom. They see me as an exception, not a leader. She tilted her head. But you are both strength and wisdom. You do not fear powerful women. You only respect the strong. Zuberi met her gaze. And you believe I am the answer to your village's weakness. Zala smiled. I believe you are the answer to many things. Abeni groaned. Oh, spirits, she is proposing. Zala grinned at her. Obviously, do you think I let just any man beat me in battle? Zuberi, unmoved, said simply, I have no interest in ruling your people. Zala's smirk did not fade. You have no interest yet, but I am patient. You will see things my way eventually. Abeni muttered, Zuberi, you have a problem. A very persistent, very smug problem. Zala only laughed. And you love it. Zuberi did not agree, but he did not deny it either. The sound of clinking goblets and false laughter filled the hall, but Zuberi's focus never wavered. He had been watching, waiting, and then it happened. The king lifted his goblet, a toast, to warriors who proved their loyalty. His eyes met Zuberi's. and to those who must make a choice. Zuberi did not drink, and neither did Abeni or Zala. Abeni whispered, "That's poison. Has to be." Zala smirked, "Or it's worse." Obedience. The moment stretched. Nobles shifted, watching, waiting for Zuberi to take the goblet. Bakari leaned in. "You refuse a king's toast?" Zuberi turned his head slowly. "I refuse poison." The hall went silent. And then, chaos. Guards moved. Blades were drawn. The trap was sprung. Zuberi did not wait. He moved. The first guard came at him. Zuberi dodged, grabbing the man's arm and twisting until bones snapped. Abeni kicked over a banquet table, sending goblets and plates crashing into charging attackers. "Oh, now it's a party." Zala, laughing, unsheathed her blade, parrying a sword swing before kicking the man square in the chest. Zuberi ducked beneath a spear thrust, yanking the weapon from his attacker and using it in one swift, brutal motion. Bakari stood back, watching the chaos unfold, his smirk returning. "You are impressive, warrior," he called, "but you are outnumbered." Zuberi did not answer, because he was not done. With one swift move, he snatched a torch from the wall and hurled it into the heavy curtains above. Flames erupted. Abeni let out a breathless laugh. "You set the palace on fire." Zala, grinning, stabbed the man in the thigh. "I think I love him." Zuberi, still stoic, turned to face Bakari through the rising flames. "Your trap has failed." Bakari's smirk faltered. Then, in the smoke and confusion, Zuberi, Abeni, and Zala disappeared into the night.